Okay, so I'm having an amazing week. Weddy, you may wonder why I got so many damn windows open. It's because I got so much to do, so many lawsuits I gotta file. It's not even funny. Like I got so many I gotta file. Well, it's like everybody at this point wants a piece of my ass, and they're gonna get it because we're gonna go to a court fight. I'm gonna go to court with these people. They keep talking shit, and I had a meeting today with the student conduct. Again, I had a meeting, and once again, it did not go well for either side. For either side, the woman even said thank you at the very end. She's like, thank you, because I said something that she needed to window the decision against me. Like they want to suspend me, or even worse, they wanna kick me out. They want to, and I can tell because this woman, she was pushing to say something smart to me, to get me to get a wise out of me, which is unfair because she's basically like not even just arguing. She's saying things that are not true, making accusations for the sole purpose of getting a wise out of me. Now, if you want to know what a meeting to discuss disciplinary action is, and I was told this multiple times. The woman by the name of Amy Coffee, yeah, her last name is Coffee, like caffeine coffee. Guess maybe they didn't have their coffee. Little joke though. But she said multiple times, no decision has been made. This is just to see if there was anything that I'd like to say. Basically if I'd like to defend myself. And I was basically trying to answer their questions. In a nutshell, I was trying to answer their questions. And I still have access to my classes, as you can see. So it's like, how can I answer your question if you don't let me answer it? That's what I don't understand. Because you're making it to where it's damn near impossible to get my word in. You keep interjecting me. And Amy wasn't interjecting me. It was this woman named Maria. This black, Hispanic looking woman. And I told her that she was black. She's like, you don't know what race I am? You don't know what race I am? And I was like, dude, you're black. Come on. Like I said, I even told her, don't play dumb with me. That's like talking to me is like talking to a judge. If you play dumb, I'm going to call it out. And I'm going to tell you, don't play dumb with me. Because you're making yourself look stupid. And I tell people that. If you play dumb, the only person you fooling is yourself. I'm not going to be fooled by this. I talk to people like I'm a court judge because I don't like bullshit. I'm like, I have my mom's gift of a bullshit detector. And this woman is like, she thinks I'm stupid. People like her think I'm stupid. You want to know what a dumb black person is? It's that. There's a certain word they call it. It's called a nigger. Yeah, I said it. I don't give a fuck. You want to know what a nigger is? You go talk to her. I think the N-word is actually warranted in a lot of different scenarios. A lot of different scenarios. And this bitch was just asking for it. If I'd been in the same damn room, I would have slapped the shit out of her. Already. I would have gotten so damn mad. I just would have just moved my hand around and smacked the fuck out of her just because she wants to interrupt every time. And then in this how she interrupts, she makes these accusations that she said, on the report it said the police said that you didn't leave the premises when he asked you to leave. And I said, ma'am, the police officer never asked me to leave. He just told me don't go back to the photo lab. He didn't say leave the campus. I had to correct her because she was just believing what the report said. And even I said, why would the report say that? Because he never told me to leave. And I'm just giving you my weekly update. You know, I can't live stream on my main account right now for 3 more days because of some copyright I got. So I'm gonna be working on the appeals process for that. But I thought I would get into fight or flight here. I got a few more videos I'd like to watch, including with Chris Stuckman. Which I guess I'll just start it with him. Where is Chrissy?
Fight or Flight stars Josh Hartnett and is the feature directorial debut of James Madigan, someone who has primarily worked in visual effects until now. And here, a mercenary takes on the job of tracking down a target on a plane, but must protect that target when they're surrounded by people trying to kill both of them. I love a good action movie on a plane, like Non-Stop or Snakes on a Plane. Even though I don't really love that movie, I do love saying that title. And I have, and always will, adore Josh Hartnett. I've loved him ever since I was a kid and I saw The Faculty. He was great in Trap and really good here as a blonde-haired mercenary who doesn't take shit from anybody, but also is kind of funny and a little bit unhinged. Like, his role in Trap was similar. And
yeah, he's great. He was great in Trap, but that movie was not good. I like his Rugrats show.
And that he had this likable sense to him, but you felt like he might kill you if you looked at him strangely. In fact, there is a bizarre world where this is a continuation of Trap, where at the end of that movie, he decided to dye his hair blonde, escape to Bangkok, and now he's on a plane just killing people. This movie is similar in tone to Bullet Train, that it has a lot of action but doesn't take itself too seriously and is in one enclosed vehicle. If you like Bullet Train as much as me, you'll probably enjoy Fight or Flight, although they didn't have as much of a budget to work with. And so there are times where you can tell that the blood is digital and some of the cuts have been enhanced in various ways to make it look a little more intense than it probably was on set. Sometimes the action feels a bit too slow, but I got a major boost of all kinds of good hormones and chemicals when I saw Josh Hartnett doing all of his own stunts and getting thrown around this plane and landing a lot of these hits and falls. This is something I haven't really seen him do before, and he's an actor that, as I said, I admire him a lot, but over the years he kind of got labeled like a heartthrob, because he started out in movies like The Faculty and H2O, which I like both of those movies, but it was films like Pearl Harbor that I think started to put him into that category in people's minds. And I always try to think of the artist first and foremost, not how a bunch of people may label that artist. And if you look at his filmography...
So a heartthrob is like basically a women like him. Women like him because he looks handsome. He's dreamy in a way. They think about him. They get like his picture and they put it on the wall and shit. They become a Josh Hartnett fan because he looks handsome. They wish to be with him. Some men like wish to be him. Because you had that high school, young college look in H2O. You had that high school, college look, and even movies like Pearl Harbor being clean shaven, he had that young look that people just loved. Primarily women.
Over the years, he has always made very interesting and even bizarre choices in his films. Movies like Bunraku or Wicker Park. 30 Days of Night is excellent. And most recently, his collaboration with M. Night Shyamalan. He does try to find filmmakers who are doing things outside of the box, or at least take risks. In this case, he's working with a first-time filmmaker. I think Hartnett is a fantastic actor who honestly doesn't get enough credit. And I have a soft spot for action movie heroes who will kill anyone who gets in their way very brutally, but have this code of ethics. It can be rather ludicrous when you really think about it, but it works very well in this movie for setting up this guy and making you like him. Movies are always looking for ways to do the save the cat thing, find a way to make you endear yourself to the protagonist, even though they might be doing some questionable things. This film has a really good way of doing it. Very early on, a young boy is trying to steal money from him while he's passed out drunk, and he wakes up just as the boy is taking the money out of his pocket. and he lets the boy take the money. And it's moments like that that endear you to this character. If you go to see Fight or Flight, be aware what you're walking into. You're watching Josh Hartnett on a plane with dyed blonde hair, wearing a pink shirt covered in blood, killing people, very brutally. That's this movie. There's not much else to be found here. Sometimes it can get a little cheesy and heavy-handed with some of its intrigue, with some of the behind-the-scenes characters, but honestly, that's kind of all part of the fun too, because this movie really is not taking itself seriously. It just wants you to have a good time, and I certainly did. So check out the film if you get a chance to see it. I do think it's a lot of fun. It's also shot by the DP of The Raid, Matt Flannery, so he knows exactly how to helm a fight scene. Guys, thank you so much, as always, for watching. Look forward to more videos very soon, and if you like this, you can click right here and get stuckmanized.
Welcome back to another Film Geek movie review. Today, after the old day job, I am off to check out the new action comedy, Fight or Flight. Fight or Flight is directed by James Madigan, and it is starring Josh Hartnett. It tells the story of a mercenary who's trying to get back in the good graces of the agency that he used to work for. So this agency hits him up and asks him to go on an airplane and protect someone. Here's the thing, though. Word gets out that he's going to be on this airplane protecting someone, and a ton of assassins decide to take this same flight. So he and this other person of interest must work together in order to survive this flight. Guys, this looks like it's going to be an absolute blast. I'm really looking forward to seeing this movie, and by the looks of things, this is the directorial debut of James Madigan. He is normally he does like special effects and all. He's also done some television directing, but by the looks of things, this is his directorial debut for a feature-length film. And I do love getting out there and seeing a directorial debut. So you know what? It is enough of me sitting here jibber-jabbering on. It is time for me to get to the old day job, and then I'm off to check out Fight or Flight.
The traveling part. So.
Welcome back, just getting home, and guys, I had a blast with this movie. Now, normally I have negatives and positives, but this time around I don't really have anything that upset me, I guess you could say, in this movie, but there are some things that I'm going to call mixed that I think some people might get turned off of watching this film. So we're going to do mixed and then move into the positive. So the first thing I want to talk about is just the all-over vibe of this movie, because this film is, honestly, it's kind of silly. It's kind of a blend between an action film and a very schlocky, B-rate action gore fest, basically. Because, guys, this movie is very, very violent, and there's a little hint to the violence that you might get when you watch the trailer, and I'm not going to ruin it for you, but let's just say one scene in particular really goes ham. But all in all, most of the stuff is really just brutal, beat down, hand-to-hand fighting. If you're someone who doesn't like stuff like that, then this probably won't turn you on whatsoever. Like I said, it is very bloody, it is very gory. I personally enjoyed it, but I do know there's some folks out there that just really don't like that level of violence. So just making you aware of that. So yes, the vibe of this film is very...
It's not that violent. If they don't like the level of violence, they can fuck off.
Silly, it's very unorthodox, and it's strange. But if you can let that go and just allow yourself to get into this film, you are really going to enjoy it. But it really depends on your level of campiness. Do you like a campy, schlocky, B-rate action film? If so, you're probably going to enjoy this movie. If you don't, you might not want to really deal with this film. I don't think you're going to like it too awful much. So let's just move into the positives, shall we? Let's talk about Josh Hartnett. Now, I don't think I've actually seen him in a hardcore action role like this. I've seen him in Crime Capers and such, but a real balls, bare buckle brawling kind of martial arts film, I don't think I've seen him do a movie like this before. And going into the movie, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little hesitant. Not because of Josh Hartnett's acting ability. I think the guy's a phenomenal actor. I've just never seen him do stunts and work like this before, so I didn't know what to expect going into it. And guys, he does an excellent job, extremely convincing. They don't have to utilize things like shaky cam or close-ups, quick cuts, or anything like that. He literally holds his own throughout this entire movie, and he is working with some stunt people who are actual trained martial artists, and he looks very good. Now, I'm not sitting here saying that he's not a trained martial artist. Maybe Josh Hartnett is. I don't know the man personally, but let's just say in this movie, his acting is on point, his action's on point, his comedy is on point. Man, this man showed up to work. I don't know how much of the action he did himself, but he must have put himself through hell making this movie, because it is obvious that he did a lot of his own work, and it looked great. The visuals in this film, yes, there is a moment in this movie where things get kind of wild and surrealist and crazy, but it's just for a moment. Also, the comedy of this movie is really on point. There was a lot of really laugh out loud moments, and I was not the only one laughing. I was with a fairly full theater, and a lot of people in there was having a blast with this movie. The practical effects, yes, you heard me right, they used practical effects. There was one part where they might have used CG blood, but it went really quick, so it was kind of hard to tell. But most of this movie, except for that one weird little cartoony moment, everything is done with practical effects. Now, I'm not saying that the practical effects aren't cartoony. We're talking like Master Samurai kind of cartoony. You know, and then you get like a small little cut and blood just goes everywhere. Oh yeah, it's that kind of film. This movie is drenched in ooey gooey bloody redness. Again, if that's something you don't like, this might be kind of a hard watch for you. And the movie is fairly high octane. It really keeps the action moving. You go basically fight from fight. There's a little bit of stuff and story in between, but the story in this movie is not necessarily all that deep. It's pretty much a survival film on an airplane with all these other bad dudes, and you just have to survive. There is some stuff in there that I felt like kind of added a little characterization and all to the characters that made you get behind them and like them, but when it comes down to like a hardcore story or any kind of lore, anything like that, it's not there. This is just a balls to the wall, fun action film. Turn your brain off, shove some popcorn in your mouth, and just have a freaking good time. Because that is exactly what this movie was made for you to do. I had a blast. The people around me had an absolute blast. Like I said, the acting is solid, the special effects are solid, and the way that the film is filmed is great. The cinematography is really cool for it to be in such a small space, basically. And believe me, the movie does keep itself very interesting and the pacing just fine, even though everything is in this one airplane. Thank goodness it's one of those big jumbo planes, because at least there's a little bit of space to move around, give you some different set changes and all, and also gives a little spot for our heroes to kind of be able to hide off somewhere, take a little breather before they have to get back out there and start the killing up again. This film is going to just entertain, guys. That is what this movie was built for. So if you're a person who is a big fan of just down to beat down style action martial arts films, you're probably really going to enjoy this movie. If you're not one that likes a lot of violence, campiness, and just complete schlock in all honesty, then this is probably not going to be the movie for you. But if you love a well-made B movie with some excellent done special effects and extremely well-filmed fight choreography, that was something I forgot to bring up when I was talking about the cinematography. The fight choreography is very on point. I was, again, like I said, worried about Josh Hartnett being able to handle a film like this, and he does excellent. The entire cast does a very good job in those fight sequences, and everything is filmed very well so you can actually see everything that's going on. Like I said, they don't utilize a lot of shaky cam or quick cuts or anything like that. They rely on the action in lens, and I appreciate that. So all in all, guys, I would have to say that if you're a fan of a really fun B movie, then you're going to have a blast with this. If you're somebody that is a little bit more civilized, you might not get as much enjoyment out of this as I did. I personally think this is a solid get out there and see it in theaters if you're a fan of films like this. Otherwise, wait for it on streaming. If it doesn't sound super interesting to you and you're like, I don't know if I want to go out there and spend my hard-earned money on something like this, please give it a chance on streaming, because Josh Hartnett needs a win, okay? Trap wasn't all that great. He needs a win, so get out there and support this movie. Alright guys, that's all I have for you today. Thanks again for checking out The Film Geek. If you liked what you saw here today, go ahead and subscribe to the channel, ring that bell for notifications, and give me the old thumbs up so I know you like what you're seeing. And there's one more thing you can do, folks, that is keep watching movies. You know I'm gonna.
Much for thinking that. That makes me...
Y'all need a pilot? Josh Hartnett returns after a stellar performance in Trap, a movie I absolutely hated, for Fight or Flight. An R-rated hour and 40-minute action-packed extravaganza. Think Bullet Train, but in the air. You could call it Bullet Plane. I just came out. Subscribe for witty...
You didn't come up with that. Stop stealing my lines.
Observational humor that's not here, but subscribe here too. Anyway, let's talk about Fight or Flight. If you watched Bullet Train and thought to yourself, man, I really enjoy this film, but I wish the budget was slashed by like 95%. Well, then you have Fight or Flight. Because it's basically the same movie done in a much worse way across the board. Worse action, a terrible story, a lead that's not near as enjoyable as Brad Pitt's character, and some of the most calm and collect passengers I've ever seen in my life. Now, before I get any further into this review, if you find yourself enjoying the commentary, please think of liking and subscribing to the channel. I post lots of movie reviews every week, movie rants, roasts, live streams, all things movies all the time. I'd love to have you stick around. All right, I'm going to go spoiler-free for most of this, and then I might dip my toe into spoilers later. I will give you a warning ahead of time. The premise is incredibly simple. The CIA has picked up on Ghost, a mysterious figure who is very dangerous and highly sought after. And this Ghost character has been almost impossible to find. They don't even know what the person looks like, the gender, the race, anything. But they do have one secret weapon. A washed out CIA agent who's been...
Yeah, that's why the mysterious person, he or she, is called Ghost. The name is literally Ghost for a reason, but they don't have an identity. You just repeated yourself unnecessarily there. So I was looking at this, I would like to get some nice t-shirts. You know, the MC does this all the time. You know, I don't want all this shit, but, there's a way. Oh, there's a helm mover. think I know what that's for. All along environment. Everything else. Me.
Been on the run from the government for 2 years. Currently blackout drunk off his ass somewhere in Bangkok. And Katie Sackhoff has his number. She gives him a ring and says, I need you to get back to work. And if he does this for her, she'll give him a get out of jail free card, wipe his slate clean, get him back into the service, and he can live out a fulfilling life. All he has to do, hop on a plane, capture Ghost alive, and take on a couple dozen bad guys. Because as it turns out, it's not only the Americans interested in stopping Ghost, it's evil bad guys from all over the world, and they are all on this plane. A plane that manages to somehow be both the largest one in existence and also one of the smallest. It's quite remarkable. I say this because as the movie plays out, there is going to be a lot of lavish, loud, high-octane action sequences that people just a cabin over, I'm talking a curtain pull away, will be completely unaware of. Every regular passenger on this plane, which I think consists of about 10, are NPCs, non-playable characters. They rarely react to anything going on, and as soon as a scene is done playing out, they just sit there calmly again like nothing happened. It is really bizarre. As far as the action goes in this movie, there is a good amount. It takes a while to build to it, but once we get there, it ranges. Josh Hartnett is good at keeping up. They do a good job masking when he has a stunt double. There is some ridiculous, pretty bloody action sequences. None of it feels real. It looks like you're watching a cartoon, a video game play out. And for many people, that's going to be enough. I've seen a lot of this shit now. Just having a bunch of dumb action is not enough to sustain my interest anymore. I have to have something a little bit more promising. I unfortunately back-to-back this with A Clown in the Cornfield, and I had the same reaction to that one. Just an exhaustive yawn. All right, what else do you have? Do we have anything new or fresh to bring to the table? Or is it well made enough with likable, interesting characters that can carry it over the finish line? No? Oh, all right, well, fuck me then, I guess. I wasted half a day watching these. I am going to keep comparing this to Bullet Train because it really does feel like a bad attempt at recreating that film just on a plane instead. Also with the humor, the pacing of the jokes never lands. The way people respond to each other, the punchlines of the jokes, the timing is just not correct. People sit way too long. They react to things in a delayed manner. There are awkward pauses in between speeches. It just does not flow great. I mentioned it's a low budget. I believe it's estimated to be around $10 to $15 million to make, which that's fine. But we're talking about a movie taking place on an airplane where crazy stuff is going to happen. With a budget that small, there's going to be a lot of corner cutting, and you can definitely see it, especially when he goes to the airport or he gets on the plane. There are very few extras in the backgrounds of these places. There are virtually no establishing shots to any of this. I don't really think you see the...
Why would you have to have an establishing shot when it's on a plane? The majority of the film is on the plane. You don't need an establishing shot. Oh, so that's why. 2 of these I didn't see, 2 of them I did. So by the time this Friday comes, the 16th, that'll be refreshed.
Outside of the plane more than 2 times in the entire film. It's insane. And again, as far as the layout of the plane is concerned, it was hard knowing where things were located. It felt like they were in a building more than they were on a moving vessel in the sky. One-liners almost never worked. The zany villains they bring into this are just cringy as shit. Later, I guess I'm going to kind of go into mild spoilers. I'm not going to give away everything, but there's really nothing to spoil, I suppose, instead of your afternoon if you went to this movie. But later we find out who Ghost is and who is protecting this person. And it's this trio of martial arts ladies who are wearing these ceremonial robes or something. They look ridiculous. They look like they're going to a MegaCon convention dressed as really poor members of Shang-Chi. It's bad. And they're the only ones wearing these. They look stupid. It's just silly. It's really silly. At another point, Josh Hartnett's character, Lucas, gets drugged and he's tripping balls. And they try to do this face dysmorphia stuff, and they get all the Technicolor things, and not working. Fight or Flight feels like the type of movie that should have.
See, Adam doesn't see the hilarity in some of these films. This movie, what did the previous guy just say? Right, literally, what did he say? The Film Geek. What did he say? He said this movie's not to be taken seriously, or was it Chris Stuckman that said that? Of course, it's not. It's not to be taken seriously. So you had the whole sparkles coming out of that guy's head in the hallucination that what's his name was having. I forget the name of Josh Hartnett's character. His name is Lucas Reyes. Lucas Reyes was seeing those hallucinations because he's high on toad venom. And you think that toad venom would probably kill him, but it didn't. And what he said about those women looking stupid? Dude, the monks. Monks wear those type of clothes. And I'm not exactly sure if there was any monks that look like them, but the idea is that they look like monks, that they give the illusion. And monks wear those type of dresses, not dresses, but shrouds or whatever with beads around their neck and stuff, sometimes around their hands. I've seen them. They don't look stupid. They look within character. That's why I never really take what Adam says does seriously, because he's one of those reviewers. He doesn't have a degree. He's never made a film. He's never been in a film. He could talk shit all day long about how he's made videos. Simply making videos does not give you the authority to speak on film. You're simply telling your opinion. And he doesn't know shit about cinematography or editing, so he could shut the hell up about that. He doesn't know anything about cinematography or editing. He doesn't know anything about camera work. He doesn't know anything about blocking. He can't tell you anything from a expert opinion. He's simply just wanting his big mouth.
Have gone straight to streaming, but they're going to crap this into theaters for a week, see if it can make its money back, and then we'll shit it out to Netflix 3 months down the road.
Most likely it will. Compared to Trap, the other Josh Hartnett film, it most likely will make its money back. Because if it didn't spend that much money to begin with, it's probably going to make at least 1.5 times that amount. Because it was made with a low budget. So if your argument is it's made with a low budget, it's probably going to make what it spent, and then some. It's probably going to have a good turnover. But that's probably why they didn't want to shoot this film with so much money. Because when they shoot a film that's going to be similar to Bullet Train, it's going to have that high expectation. If it turns out to not do that, it's going to fail miserably. It's going to flop. But I don't see this film flopping because they didn't really shoot it with a high budget. Films that are shot with a low budget have a tendency to do better. They have a strong tendency to do better because the expectation is actually literally low. Literally. There's nobody expecting this film to be any good, and therefore they're not expecting it to do good in the box office. And because that expectation is so low, people are willing to take the risk. Even on a Discount Tuesday, which is the best choice, I always advertise that. Discount Tuesdays, can't do any wrong. Prices are literally less than half price. So for tickets typically $20, you're looking at paying at most $8 for one ticket. That's less than 10 or half. So I encourage everybody, Discount Tuesdays. That's excluding A-List, which now has been upgraded to 4 screenings a week. And if you want to do the math correctly, those 4 weeks in a month, 4 times 4 is 16. You get 16 screenings a month for the price of $27.99. Yeah. Take that what you will.
A month down the road. If this movie came out in the 90s, it would be a straight to VHS release. I would never have watched it. I would never even heard of it. I might see it on the bottom shelf of a rental store under new releases and go, oh, Josh Hartnett's in this? That's odd. That's strange. No thanks. There are really only 2 main locations in this film. There is the plane stuff, and then there's the stuff back at the CIA headquarters or whatever this place is. They don't have any lights. They really must have blew the budget on the plane interior because the ground game is very dark. There's not a light to be seen inside of this place. Katie Sackhoff is just standing in a room with 2 other dipshits, and she just has these lame conversations, and she's checking in on the phone, texting with Lucas. Every time they go back to this building, it is so boring to look at. They try to put in 4 or 5 background characters, and I laugh my ass off every time they did this. there would be Katie Sackhoff and one or two other people. Katie Sackhoff, by the way, I usually really enjoy her. Not good here. It looks like she's phoning it in. I don't know. I don't like this character at all. But she'll be talking to people, and in the background, there'll be a guy just kind of like arbitrarily walking, like he's getting commands from Dr. Evil and Austin Powers, just walking back and forth. There was a really funny shot I noticed later in the movie where Josh Hartnett's sitting down, he's eating some cookies, and in the background, you see the girls kind of just moving around, like doing shit. And all you see, though, is like a tiny bit of their back and their butt, and it's not like a hot looking shot. It's just poorly framed, and they're barely in there. Bad. I don't know what they're doing with this movie, if they ran out of time and they just had to quickly like whip stuff together. But yeah, things are not framed up the best. Color grading is also an issue. I found the movie to be very flat looking. There's not a lot of detail in this. There's not a lot of color that pops. It's just, it looks like it was not treated very well, if at all. Like it's the raw camera footage they went with. Keep that budget down. So to summarize, you get some zany action, but it's a lot of been there, done that a million times before. We've had 4 John Wick movies. We got Ballerina coming out. We had Nobody. There's a Nobody 2 sequel. There's Atomic Blonde. There was Monkey Man. There are a ton of these action movies that fit in that same kind of mold. Fight or Flight just does it a lot worse, with a very lame story on top of it. For me, I would say save your money, watch it when it comes home to streaming. That way you're kind of getting it for free. You know, you're only paying for your plan on that different app. Otherwise, yeah, not worth it. Not worth the trip. If you're looking for a substitute, just watch one of the movies I brought up a second ago. I listed like 7 or 8 of them. Or Bullet Train. Bullet Train I thought was great too. Little long, but overall a fun time. All right, let me know your thoughts below. Leave a comment. Please, again, think of subscribing to the channel, liking this video if you liked it, share it, tell a friend or two. I want to keep this channel moving strong, and the best way to pump it up is word of mouth. So tell your friends, maybe think about becoming a YouTube Join member or patron at patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. Hopefully, I'll see you next time. Take care. Thanks again for watching the video. If you wouldn't mind, I would appreciate it if you checked out patreon.com/AdamDoesMovies. That's where fans of my channel go to help support it. There are different tiers with different offerings, exclusives every month. We got multiple movie reviews. There's a vlog monthly, and even...
Hey, I'm George from MovieWeb. How are you doing, Josh?
Hey, George, I'm good, man. How are you?
Great. The action in this is fun. That's the big part of it, obviously. It's funny. And I'm curious what you can tell us about the demands physically, but also kind of some of the innovations and the humor that you guys bring to it, because it's different. It's got its own flavor.
Oh, 100%. Flavor is what we were after, really. The tone of it was the most important thing to us. Like, I always wanted to do something where I did my own stunts. I've been able to do it one other time in my career. It was a movie called Bunraku. I was 29 years old. And when they asked me to do this, and the conceit of it is that the actor does his own stunts, I was like, oh, I'm 45 at the time. I was like, this is going to be different. And yet we knew that really, if we didn't make the audience laugh and make the audience feel something, put the character in enough jeopardy that you weren't sure if he was going to succeed, and maybe even make the character so bizarre that you didn't know if you wanted him to succeed. It was going to be that was the main goal. And so the action became, as far as the prep goes, secondary, but that allowed me to kind of enjoy the action more and not put so much pressure on it. You know what I mean? It was like going into a game that I knew was going to be really tough as like a basketball player, but not really thinking about the opponent, knowing I had so much other stuff to think about that it just kind of took care of itself. And the reason that it was allowed to do that was that we had an amazing stunt team. We had this crazy group of people that was willing to kind of go wild within this tiny space. And because the space was so small as well, it lent itself to invention. And so the action sequences are just different than you usually see. And yeah, so it was all together. We just got very lucky with all the people that we had hired. It all just kind of worked together. We all worked together really well, and I love the result. I think the result is awesome. I'm very proud of this film.
Yeah, you really disappear into this guy, and he's interesting to watch. and it's fun to watch him kind of explore these moments. And you invent, talking to James, you invented a lot of these kind of humorous moments that popped up. I'm
Oh yeah.
curious what it was like. You recently, not recently, but a couple of years ago, Oppenheimer, working with
Yeah.
Christopher Nolan. It's such a different experience, but also I imagine very demanding. And I'm kind of
Yeah.
curious to hear you talk a little bit about that and what you took from it, and how it maybe changed your trajectory a little bit.
Well, I mean, like what really happened, what really changed my trajectory is that I had a third child and we went into lockdown and I was like, oh, might not be able to make movies anymore. Like, I don't know what's going to happen in the world. And so I started calling directors that I knew, or had my agents call directors that I knew and said, do you want Josh in anything? And I started work. I did a couple of films with Guy Ritchie, and a film with Chris and a couple other, like the Black Mirror episode and things like that. Just started working with people that I always wanted to work with. I didn't realize, I think earlier in my career, just earlier in my life, that half of making films is about creating relationships, or even calling people and just telling them how much you appreciate their work, and that they might respond to that and ask you to be a part of their film. Like, it was very naive of me to think that like the world was going to come to me, but I was also very happy before having so many children to be making more experimental films and not making any money off of them. But then having a lot of kids, I was like, oh, well, maybe I need to make a living at this too. And what if, we do have another pandemic and I can't ever make a film again? What do I want to do? And so recently I've just been incredibly lucky to be able to go along and work with these fantastic directors and have these films be seen by people. And in this situation, again, it's sort of my instinct to go work with first time filmmakers, because I love invention. I love seeing someone coming up with their style. And I love being a part of it, the opportunity to both kind of sink or swim, and knowing that James had all this talent, but like, who knew if he had it in him to make something with this tone? I felt he did. And I luckily was vindicated. I was right. Like, I think this is an amazing first film. I think it's an amazing film first, full stop. But for a first film, it's extraordinary. And so the gambler in me took another roll of the dice with this one. And
I've run out of time, but I love your approach and I love that story and how honest and personal it is. And thanks for doing this and great job, man. Thank you.
Thanks
again.
a lot. Appreciate it.
Yep, I'm not really getting any views. But it's nice to see a few videos about it. I think that interview is pretty similar to other people, and I don't want to go into 20 minutes. But I thought the film was great. Fight or Flight is not a movie to be taken seriously. We got bigger movies coming out, including Final Destination, Bloodlines, Mission Impossible, The Final Reckoning. I already have my ticket for quite a few movies. So, on Friday the 16th alone, I'm scheduled to see 3 movies, and I could change my mind. I might not have it in me to see a movie at 4:30, 7:15, and then 10:30. I might not, really. These are all rated R films, by the way. Every single one of these. This, and this. Hurry Up Tomorrow, Final Destination, Bloodlines, and Sinners. They're all 3 of them are rated R. Some have a rated R Friday. But I think also I'm scheduled to do a trailer check, which is literally my only job now. And I'm not really looking for work because of what happened. I keep getting screwed over. Yep, I'm supposed to do a trailer check for Final Destination Bloodlines this week, actually. So I gotta prepare for that. And I Oh, and by the way, and this is on the following. This is the Thursday, so if I look at the calendar, like this is the 16th, so on the Thursday, the same week, within the same, because the A-list one's from Friday to the following Thursday, and with news on the next Friday, a week later. So this is gonna be Thursday. I cannot afford the early IMAX screening that they have. I simply can't afford that. You know, and it just occurred to me that plane was upside down. But yeah. So three movies on a Friday, and then a few days later, almost a week later, it's gonna be The Final Reckoning. I might actually change that though. You know, I like to kind of go on a binge. And I don't know if that's healthy or not, because you want each movie to process that way when you make a review. So, in this movie, I don't really have to see. I just want to see it in IMAX, 70mm again. They bought it back out after a week that it wasn't, because they allowed Thunderbolts, aka New Avengers, to be in IMAX for like a week before they bought back Sinners in IMAX 70mm again. You knew that they were going to do that. So, but yeah, Josh Hartnett is definitely funny in this film. Like this movie, and the fact that he's wearing a pink shirt is like, I just look at it as funny. Like he's got blonde hair and a pink shirt, and it's just funny. You know it's going to be funny when you got a blonde guy played by an actor that was in another movie. Like you can tell he's not naturally blonde because his build is brown. If your build is brown and your hair is blonde, then that means one of the two is dyed, and most likely it's the head hair, not the facial hair. People don't really dye their facial hair. And also the eyebrows, the hair on the eyebrows is literally brown, and you can tell that he's got brown underneath. Like you can click on the image, tell it's brown underneath, so that's definitely dyed. And it's just funny because, like I said, you got a pink shirt, dude. You literally got a pink shirt and blonde hair. It looks like he's a Ken in Barbie, like he's going to a beach or something. Makes it funny. Then he gets from this thing, and he can't even put a gun in his back. And you know where they put the gun in the back, in the back of their pants, not in a pocket per se, but right at the back. He tries that, but it slips right through. Funny. So regardless of what they say, Adam does movies. It's funny as hell. Anyway, thank you so much for watching. It's been fun. This is a short live stream to the simple fact that there's not a whole lot going on. This film is not that big, rightfully so, because A, people don't want it to be, and B, it's not that big of a film in the first place, which it doesn't really bother me. I like it. I liked it better than Trap. I don't like it as much as Bullet Train. Bullet Train I find to be actually better because it's just funnier, because of the general nature, because also Bullet Train has two key comedic actors, or better yet, two comedic characters. Not comedic actors, but comedic characters, and that's Tangerine and Lemon. Like, they make the movie funny. They literally make it funny. So, yeah. This movie doesn't have such characters. If it did, then it would probably be competing directly with Bullet Train for that comedic title. But this film does make me want to rewatch Bullet Train, So, but yeah, I was the first to call that, to say that it was Bullet Plane. I was the first to call that Bullet Plane.